What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Hashitout podcast. I'm your boy Keenai with my boy Tony Tone here,
What it do?
and we've got a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. I hate shows that start off with some bad news, but this is going to be one of those episodes where we start off with some bad news because we want to take some time to pay our condolences to Kyrie Jackson, Vikings rookie cornerback that was drafted this year, who unfortunately lost his life during a car accident. Officials do say that there was alcohol potentially involved in the situation, but no further information has been put out yet. So we will keep you updated on that. We would also like to pay our condolences to his high school friends. What were their names again?
AJ Litton Jr. and Isaiah Hazel. So we know all three of them were involved. Our condolences really do go out to their families and whatnot. Also, we want to send out our condolences to the families of the shooting that happened at their vigil on Friday night. We know one was stable, and unfortunately, the male that was shot, he unfortunately was pronounced dead. So we also want to send our condolences out to his family as well. The guy, Kyrie Jackson, he was a prominent guy. He come in fourth round draft pick into Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings organization also sent out their condolences and whatnot. But we want to let it be known that our prayers and our hearts go out to you guys.
And to the person, whoever you are, that shot up Kyrie Jackson's vigil and unfortunately took the life of an innocent man that was just trying to pay his condolences to a man that lost his life. I hope and pray you get the justice that you rightfully deserve. But moving on to more somber and more uplifting topics, we want to talk about potential cuts going on, the rumors and everything that's going on. So if you want to take the lead on that.
Yeah, I believe I got that. So I was looking, and there are a lot of guys that are on the hot seat this year. Mainly, we're looking at guys like Miles Sanders, Taylor Heineke. These guys they've been around. They've had their times, but uh, I know there was the Giants. They're been a really good talk for guys that are gonna get cut because Darius Slayton, his contract is all sorts of wonky, and realistically, if they let him go, you're looking at clearing up a decent bit of cap room, anywhere between like I think 3.8 and 6.4 billion, depending on whether they decide to trade or cut him. We got a lot of guys coming up just in contract years alone, so I feel like there's going to be a lot of moving pieces with this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely agree that, cuts is going to be a very interesting topic because there's a lot of teams that are extremely tight to the cap as is. So it'll be very interesting to see who gets the axe and how much money will be freed up from letting them go, because obviously, I know that there was rumors that maybe Damar Hamlin was going to end up getting cut by the Bills, which I mean, as much of a heartthrob story that was, from his incident a couple years back or whatever, it's understandable. At the end of the day, the NFL is a business, and you got to do what you got to do. You got to make business decisions, and it's nothing personal, but
But at
it's got
this
to be done.
at the same time, I feel like I kind of need to back Damar Hamlin slightly here. That man literally, they talk about putting your life on the line, playing this game and doing what you're doing. This man quite literally could have died putting his life on the line. Well, call it a freak accident, call it what you will. The man still did his thing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Even coming back after all that and you know balling out as much as he possibly could, as much as his health would allow him to, and then you're still going to give him the axe? Come on, man.
I mean, I agree. I personally feel like if Damar Hamlin was to get the axe by the Bills, especially after, the circumstances, I feel like it would be kind of like a slap in the face to the guy, but I also bode the question of would it be a slap in the face because of what happened to him, or would it be a slap in the face because of him being a good player? Because there's obviously a difference, because at the end, like we just recently said, the NFL is a business, and if you're not making the cut, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you got to get the axe. That's just how it works.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I get that. I do. Because I mean, realistically, the guy didn't play that many. He didn't play that many games. Last year he barely had, I think, over 100 snaps total between defensive snaps and special team snaps and whatnot. But even still, like the dude, after quite literally almost dying, like literally giving his life for you, and you're still gonna axe him. I don't personally don't think that's right.
I mean, I agree. I definitely feel like they should give him like obviously we don't know whether or not they're going to axe him, but I mean if there's rumors that he is going to get axed, then a lot of the time rumors are true, and then there's other times that it's not. But in the case that if the rumors are true that they do plan on axing him and everything like that, and sending him on his way, I personally feel like they should give him a chance to, not necessarily redeem himself, but prove himself, because it's like you can't base him off of the short little bit that especially after the incident that occurred with him with the whole cardiac arrest on the field, and this man fighting for his life for days on end. Thankfully, he made it through, pulled through, and everything like that. But I feel like the Bills would be foolish to let him go without fully knowing what it is that he's capable of, and giving him that wholehearted chance to, in a sense, like no pun intended, but put it out there, put it on the line, and show what he can do.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree that. But I also get it from the Bills' perspective to where it's like they're really trying to, I guess, rebuild in a sense because they got to be able to cut corners wherever they can and get what money they can because we remember they did kind of sell out a couple years ago. So with guys' contracts that they got going on and guys' contracts that are coming up, they got to do what they got to do. So at the end of the day, if they decide to cut him, hey, so be it.
Oh yeah, for
Like
sure. I
you
mean,
can't do nothing about it.
realistically, when it comes to the Bills, I feel like they need to burn it down and start over anyways. Because in my opinion, with the loss of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, I don't really see them going very far. Even though everybody else, still kind of hypes them up to be Super Bowl contenders. It's like I'm not I'm not buying the hype. I personally think they should rebuild and start over, because I feel like their Super Bowl window has already closed with the loss of Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. Because even though Josh Allen is a solid quarterback, I don't think that he's the top five, top 10 freaking quarterback that everybody tries to label him to be. So, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, that definitely is something that we can get on to. Another one that I want to bring up though for cuts, and this one might seem a little crazy, but at the same time, to me, it makes sense. Matt Judon. This he's 32. He's been a very prolific guy. Like he's balled out. He's been to Pro Bowls. He's done his thing. But this guy, like you're getting up there up in age, man. And if you can't produce, like I hate to say it, but you got to go. Like I want to be that guy and I want to be that supporter for him, but I don't see it happening. I really don't.
Oh yeah, and as a Ravens fan, when Matt Judon was with us, because obviously we were the team that drafted him way back when. He was a dog for us. That man really stepped up when we needed him. He was a locker room leader. He did his thing. Obviously, he chased the bag and went to New England to try and test his luck there, see how much success he could have there. Unfortunately, he showed up at the latter end of their dynasty, the
I don't
pretty
even.
much fall of their dynasty.
Uh,
So he didn't have much time to realistically shine. But you're right, he is up there in age, and obviously we know with a lot of defensive players or just football players in general, they're not playing as long anymore just because of the amount of wear and tear that goes onto it. But Matt Judon, I feel like he still has a little bit of juice left in the tank. It's just a matter of choosing, if he does get the axe, if New England does let him go, then choosing a team that'll actually play to his strengths and actually give him a chance to shine.
oh yeah, and I got one more I want to bring up too. So James Bradbury.
Oh yeah.
I feel like this guy is definitely going to get the axe simply because that Eagles defense is definitely turned itself around in the last few years. You know, they've destroyed my division, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it. But the reason I feel like he's going to wind up getting the axe is because like that whole like they just spent what first or second round pick on a corner out of Iowa. I can't remember the dude's name, but we're looking at the first one of the first white cornerbacks to come into the league in pretty much since what fucking Seahorn with the Giants,
Yeah.
and that's been like since the '90s. And you got to think you got guys like Jordan Davis coming back. You've got freaking Fletcher Cox still around. You know, there's just way too many more important pieces there than to drop a bunch of money on James Bradbury, who has been around the league. He's done his thing. You know, no discredit to the guy, but if anybody's going to get the axe from that team, I feel like it's going to be him.
Oh yeah, I agree. I definitely feel like when it came to the James Bradbury going to the Eagles, I feel like he was more of a complimentary piece because they obviously they got a big play Slay from Detroit and everything like that, and at the time they didn't have anybody to play alongside Slay, so I definitely feel like when they signed James Bradbury, it was more of a complimentary bridge piece until they found future younger options, which this past draft they got not one but two of the top cornerback prospects in the this past draft. So I feel like yeah, James. Honestly, with them getting both guys, I feel like both James Bradbury and Big Play Slay's time with the Eagles is definitely it's limited. So
I don't know. I feel like Big Play Slay's made a case for himself. Like you definitely see that his game has regressed a lot, but the dude's still able to somewhat hold his own. So if anybody, yet again, I stick by my statement. If anybody's going to get the axe, it's going to be James Bradbury.
oh yeah,
Like,
it's
because with them cutting him, it's like his contract doesn't really clear anything from their books. Like, they don't really gain anything from cutting him. But what they do gain is an open roster spot to be able to bring in a younger guy and build him up and make that secondary a little bit stronger potentially.
oh yeah, I agree because that Eagles defense over the last couple of years has just gotten stronger and stronger every single year to where as much as I hate to say it, I do feel like they're gonna win another Super Bowl within the next couple years. I'm not gonna say the immediate future. I'd say maybe well, if I'm being honest, I'd say I'd give about five more years, and they're probably going to win their second Super Bowl in franchise history with just the way, just based off of defense alone, and their offense is only getting better as well. I mean, you've got guys like Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, like they've just got a wide variety of weapons on both sides of the ball to where it's like it's just a matter of time before they get over that hump and win that second Super Bowl ring, you know. So
Yeah, and I mean, if we're being honest, I feel like their window is now realistically because with my boys, as much as I hate to say it, Jerry, what are you doing? You're holding out on you're holding out on my boy CD here, man. This dude's been a top guy for the last 3, 4 seasons, man. We're going into his contract year. We already let freaking we got shit going on with LVE right now. You know, Dak is in his contract year. You know, we either need to pay the man or figure something out because if we don't pay Dak, man, I think our window's shut. Like that door slammed shut for us.
yeah, I definitely have my own opinions on that, but that's another conversation for another episode because we could go on about your boys for quite some time.
Unfortunately, yes,
Yeah,
we could.
yeah, I definitely see, you know, as far as the Eagles go, if they were to cut James Bradbury, it's expected at this point. You know, it's like I said, he was. I feel like he was more of a complimentary piece that paid off a lot better than they anticipated him to when they first initially signed him. So I mean, kudos to him, kudos to the team for working out together and everything like that, and you know, finding success the way that you guys did. And I mean, if they do give him the axe, then best of luck in all your future endeavors. I obviously, like I always say, I wish the best. I want to see everybody, earn that bag and succeed and everything, live their best life. So yeah, to all the people that end up getting cut, good luck to you guys. But I do want to turn my attention to a very big situation that was brought to my attention recently of a lawsuit that the NFL apparently has been a part of that they just lost. Um, and it's going to cost them about $4.7 billion. So, what's going on with that situation?
So correction,
What's up?
it's not just $4.7 billion. That's just to the people like the everyday customers that paid, for the out of market games with direct TV and everything like that. But businesses themselves have been found at a $96 million loss.
Whew.
So that
So big bucks.
4.7 plus the 96 million that's going to be coming out.
Oh yeah, so that's so they're about to be paying out a lot. I know that the NFL tried to appeal the verdict because the verdict was that they were guilty of the accusations against them because companies and individuals that had like Sunday Ticket and all their other like cable provided broadcasts, they were saying that DirecTV specifically and NFL were conspiring, raising the cost of their subscription without informing consumers beforehand, to where they were, in a sense, fraudulently receiving more money for a product that is staying the same for no other reason other than they were trying to be slick. It was brought to attention by a bar actually, that was like, oh, something's wrong. They brought it up to a buddy of theirs' attention. They were like, oh, let's run that lawsuit. And so this lawsuit started back in 2015. They
Correction, it actually wasn't 2015. It's realistically been since 2011.
Oh wow, so even
So,
further back than that.
yeah, because it covered, so the article we were looking at said it covered 2.4 million residential subscribers and 48,000 businesses who paid for it from 2011 up until 2022. So you're taking 10 plus years of these people's money and somebody finally caught on to it. And now that somebody's finally caught on to it, you're trying to weasel your way out of it.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is, and that's the unfortunate burden of corporate life, is that, because there's nobody to monitor them or tell them no or anything like that, there's no laws to stop them from raising their price for whatever reason, and they realistically don't even have to tell you why it is. But it's just one of those things that I feel like, this is definitely a milestone, because I feel like with this lawsuit, it's it lets the corporate world know that the regular consumers that they're trying to sell to, or that they think aren't going to stand up for themselves, are starting to catch on to their nonsense, and they're not going to stand for it anymore, because you can only gouge somebody of so much of their money before it's like, hey, it's time for me to get what's mine, because you already got yours. You're a multi-billion dollar company. Like, you make hundreds of billions of dollars annually, and you're over here gouging your consumers that are trying to watch your product. And for what? Like, you make so much money. What do you gain from trying to gouge more out of these people?
It's realistically, man, we know at the end of the day, the NFL is a business, dude. Like things are gonna happen, shit's gonna get done. But the funny thing about the whole lawsuit is the whole reason why they quote unquote got done in by this was because the lawsuit claimed that the league broke antitrust laws by selling it at an inflated price. Obviously, they're charging people more money. I'd be pretty pissed if somebody was charging me more money. Like that's my money you're messing with, especially with the 2.5 million people that are getting this because they want to be able to watch their teams play when they're in other states and everything like this. But the league is also trying to claim that the way they did it, they restricted it to one consumer or one business by providing it only on satellite and all this stuff like that. So they're trying to say that because there was no competition, they were able to adjust the prices themselves because they strictly only went through DirecTV for the Sunday ticket.
Yeah, and logically speaking, that would make sense. Like it does make sense. But at the same time, when you've had your product out there for a certain price for a long extended period of time and everything like that, and then you just randomly, oh, you know what? I want to make more money. Boom, let's just raise the price because there's no competition. Like your only argument is there's no competition, so I can just gouge my consumers because of that. It's like, yeah, then you rightfully deserve this lawsuit. And like I said, I know that they're trying to appeal it, claiming that what they did wasn't going against any antitrust laws and everything like that. But I personally don't think that they have enough evidence to justify what they did. And like you said, the fact that it took this long for this lawsuit to even come to a verdict, because I know from my research that they back in 2015 it was a big deal, but then it got the judge that was in charge of that lawsuit at the time, that case at the time, canceled out. He didn't want to be a part of it anymore, so he closed that case completely just for a later judge to for the topic to be brought to their attention. They were like, no, let's look into this, because if this is an antitrust issue, then we need to address it immediately. So in 2019, it was brought back up and reopened to be discussed and everything like that. Just for now, recently, about a month ago, they just came to a final verdict that the NFL was guilty. They need to pay whatever amount of money, a large sum. But also with them appealing, I've also heard that there's a possibility, if they cannot justify their actions and win their appeal, that amount could potentially triple, obviously, because of court costs, everything like that, to where they could go from paying 4 or 5 billion to up to $15 billion just from this appeal alone.
Yeah, and you want to know the crazy part?
What's up?
It's going to be the entirety of the NFL having to pay for this because they're breaking it up between the owners. Which, if they break it up between the owners, because obviously the owners, I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword. Because, like, yo, why are the owners having to pay for this? They didn't have anything to do with it. They're
Right.
just out here playing their games, doing their thing. Now, granted, the board of owners and all that shit, they have a say so in a lot of these things, obviously, because these are multi-billion-dollar people coming together, putting their input in, deciding how they're going to get their money back, essentially. And if they break it up and spread it across all the 32 teams, you're looking at roughly about $450 million that has to be dished out, and that's if it triples.
Hmm.
But if it doesn't triple, then we're probably looking at a smaller number. But even still, that is a ridiculous amount of money to have to drop. But I mean, I don't really want to bring this up, but I'm going to anyway. I'm going to kind of play a little bit of backwards devil's advocate here. You think about it, man, like all this stuff that the NFL is doing and all this stuff that's coming to light really can kind of add into the whole narrative that things are scripted, man. Because these guys are sitting here, trying to coerce people out of their money and, basically make their pockets fatter. It's like, okay, well, you're setting up certain things and you're doing these things to try to make people seem like they're getting something good just to realize you got 2.5 million people out here getting scammed pretty much.
Oh yeah, for sure. And a lot of it I feel borders on, well, not borders, it falls on, corporate greed, because like I previously said, all these corporate industries, these multi-million, multi-billion dollar companies, there's no rules or regulations saying that, there's a limit to how much you can sell your product for. So it's like, even though their product is staying the same, it's the same product. In this case, it's football. It's the same product year in, year out. Uh, they can charge however much they want, because they're the only, well, not they're not the only football league out there, but they're the main one. They were the big dogs for the longest, to where it's like they felt like, oh well, we can just charge whatever we want, get whatever we want out of these people, and everything like that. But it's like at some point you got to realize that especially with the way society is right now, with the economy is right now, people can't afford to be forking out just money just because you want it.
Yeah, I get it. Like our fucking like the average everyday run of the mill, middle class Joe Schmoes, the guys that are really being affected by this, your blue collars and all these guys that this is their pastime, you know, I get it. But at the same time, from the NFL's perspective, I also understand it. And then yet again, you can chastise me all you want, but you think about it. Because they wanted to claim that the reason they were able to charge so much was because they really didn't have any competition.
Right.
So in that sense, what you're telling me is you have a monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What do people do when they have a monopoly on things?
Oh yeah,
They run the prices up
mm-hmm.
because of supply and demand. They know that they can get that. It's like, hey, if you want what I got, you're gonna pay for it. Otherwise, you're not getting it. So it's kind of a dirty tactic. It's not kind of. It definitely is a dirty tactic by the NFL. But I mean, they really genuinely don't have any competition because yes, you got like the USFL, the UFL, and all this stuff. But realistically, these guys that are coming out of college and they're trying to chase bigger and better things. The only real option they have to get that bag and get paid is the NFL.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna tell me that anybody's gonna fight the NFL, especially since they've been around practically since the dawn of time.
Feels like
like
definitely
these
feels
guys,
like
definitely we've already hit that century mark with the NFL, and there's never been a league other than maybe the World Football League way back when that even remotely attempted to compete with them, at least on such of a grand stage like the NFL has.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So the NFL definitely has utilized that to their advantage. Like it's dirty and it's grimy, don't get me wrong, but game got to recognize game sometimes,
Oh yeah, game definitely recognizes game, but I guess the way that I look at it with, this whole game recognizes game, that they have the monopoly is the whole how the saying goes, you can polish a turd, but it's still a turd. In this case, in this case, it's like I said, you have a product. Your product really isn't any different. It's the same thing. It's pretty much lather, rinse, repeat, type thing every single year. You're not doing anything different. You're not bringing anything different to the table. So why should you be able to raise your prices just because, oh, I'm the one and only out there, like no, because like I'll put it to you in a way that makes sense. Let's take deodorant for example.
Okay.
Let's take deodorant.
Okay.
You buy the same deodorant your entire freaking life. Nothing changes about it.
Okay.
Let's just say it's degree deodorant that you use.
Okay.
For example, it's the same formula, the same product, the same thing all day, every day for years that you've been using it, and then randomly it goes up $3.
Yeah. You want to know something crazy about that? There's this thing called inflation.
I mean, there is such thing as
it's
inflation.
Gonna happen.
I mean, I get that there is such thing as inflation, but at the same time, it's like there's no, you're not going to convince me that, for example, in this case of talking about degree deodorant, you're the formula is the same, everything's still the same, and I'm pretty sure you're still buying all the ingredients for your deodorant at the same price, but inflation makes it to where you have to sell it for more. It's like how, and I feel like that's the kind of the situation that it is right here, where yes, you are the one and only NFL that has Sunday ticket, all that good stuff that you offer to allow people to enjoy watching their favorite teams and everything like that. But at the same time, you're just the same product over and over and over again, just different faces come through the door. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's realistically the only difference is the faces that are on the team. Otherwise, it's still the same football. Everybody gears up. Somebody tackles the person with the ball. You're trying to score the most points. That's what it is at the
You
end of
get
the
the
time.
rudimentary fundamentals of football
Yes.
here, okay? We don't need to break it down Barney style. But here's my thing.
But you get my point.
Here's my thing. The NFL has kind of changed up, and this is why I'm gonna backtrack on what I've said about them having the monopoly and Direct TV really being the only competition they had. They've pushed to Prime Video.
Yes.
They've pushed to Peacock.
Yeah.
They've pushed to Paramount. Like you can't say that was the only competition you had because I remember watching the Bengals Rams Super Bowl on Peacock.
True.
So for like, I get it for out of market games. Maybe DirecTV is the only one that offers stuff like that. But that kind of negates that with hey, I watched that Super Bowl on Peacock. Like, you have other companies that are a part of this. Like the fact that you even have YouTube TV in this now.
Yeah, but at the same time, my counter to that is that it's like you have all that stuff now. If we're going back to 2011, 2015, all that, Paramount didn't exist. Freaking Hulu didn't exist. Freaking YouTube was literally just a website to freaking upload videos. It didn't have YouTube TV yet. Peacock didn't exist. All this stuff didn't exist. All that existed was DirecTV.
Yeah, but you're talking about
To where it's like you could pull that now. They could pull the whole, oh, well, we raise our price because we're widespread now. You could play that now. But back then, it's like that wasn't an excuse.
true, but at the same time, it's like you got to think about it. Like the NFL, man, they've always tried to push because, like, for example, just take regular TV. Like they've had Fox, they've had CBS, NBC, freaking all these other channels and stuff that they're pushing out on. Granted, it's more of on a smaller stage, but you can't even say that you didn't have any competition there.
I mean, this is true. At the same time, I personally feel like this lawsuit is for the people, like this lawsuit is, I guess, in a sense, sticking it to the man of, corporate greed, honestly, in my opinion, needs to there needs to be some kind of regulation to these companies and how much they can actually raise their prices because like I said, it's like if you're offering the same stuff, the same product, the same service, the same whatever, and you're not doing anything different other than supposed inflation or convenience or whatever, then it's like I personally feel like you like I mean the best example
of it. God, here we go.
I got another example.
You got
you know me and my examples, my boy.
Hit me with it. What you got?
Take Arizona tea for example. They've had their freaking teas selling for 99 cents. Well, they're $1 now, but they went up 1 cent. What do you do? Freaking they've been selling it for 99 cents to $1 since Arizona tea was a thing. And they still make millions of dollars every single year, no problems whatsoever, keeping their product the same. So if you tell me how a company like Arizona Tea can still be $1 million, almost $1 billion company, having their prices at what they originally started it at, but yet you got a $1 billion company that makes billions of dollars every single year. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Because you got to think you got merchandising, you got endorsements, you got just the regular freaking fact that everybody that owns the bitch is a billionaire. Like you got all this money in this thing. What do you need more for? Everybody there is rich already.
Here's my thing. Here's my counter argument to that. Okay, you brought it up. I'm gonna call you out on it.
Right okay, now. I'm listening.
You brought up the fact that the only thing that quote unquote really changes is the faces.
Mm-hmm.
We see the power dynamics change year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps people coming back. So yet again, it goes back to my argument of if you have something people want, they're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, but
there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it because yes, take for example, us growing up watching football. We grew up watching guys like Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Breeze, and now we're rolling into the Mahomes, Allen, Joe Burrow, all these new faces, but we're still invested in it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I get where you're coming from with that. I get that, new faces, especially if they're extremely talented, bring the hype and everything like that. But that also proves my point of if if you always have those onesies or twosies out of everybody, that no matter what, no matter how garbage the team is, no matter how much people hate the product or whatever, that just that name alone is going to bring fans in and bring money in. It's like, for what reason do you need to gouge your consumers out of their money for anything? Because it's like at the end of the day, there's honestly, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, that there was no reason for it. Like it was just strictly greed. That's all it boiled down to, was just straight up greed, to where this lawsuit was literally those companies and individuals being like, no, We're done with this corporate greed. You're not going to continue gouging us. Life is already expensive and hard as is. You're not about to make it harder by taking the one thing that I love from me and making it too expensive.
Yet again, I have something you want it, you pay for it. The NFL is a backstabbing organization for it.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong, because as an avid fan myself, I'd be highly pissed off if I found out somebody was stealing my money, my hard earned money, that I work for. But at the same time, like I said, you got to realize that they're doing it because they're able to.
I
They're
know.
allowed to.
I know, and that
Maybe not by law, but now that they finally got caught out on it, maybe we'll finally get some justice. Who knows?
Oh yeah, I previously stated, I definitely feel like this lawsuit is for the people. I feel like, especially if the NFL can't prove their justifications and can't win their appeal, and then they do have to pay this out. It's I feel like it's definitely going to put a lot of eyes on corporate America, to where it's like, okay, well, if we could freaking if this happened to this big time fucking company, and they had to pay out and everything like that, then what's stopping us from correcting this? Because I mean, yes, I get it. Inflation is a thing. Yes, monopolies are a thing. Yes, I have something that you want, supply and demand. Yes, that is a thing. But at the end of the day, you have a product that does not really change. It's the same thing. Football is football, no matter what. There is no reason that you need to be changing the price of anything for any reason, because at the end of the day, it's still the same product, no matter what. Like the only thing that might be reasonable to change would probably be merchandise. If you want to raise the price of merchandise, whatever, because at the end of the day, merchandise is more based on how popular that individual that is selling is, whatever. So like, you got a Trevor Lawrence t-shirt, or not t-shirt, jersey, versus, I don't know, let's just go Ben DiNucci. Obviously Trevor Lawrence is going to sell better than Ben DiNucci, so obviously his stuff is going to be more expensive. I get that. But when you're talking about broadcasting product, for what reason do you need to increase the price of it? Because by raising the price, all you're doing is putting more money in your pocket and DirecTV's pocket, and I think that's what's really pissing off these people that are a part of this lawsuit.
Yeah, and rightfully so. Like I get it. I definitely understand. There are certain things that they should be able to get away with, like merchandising, or hell, even at the like home games where they sell concessions and shit. If you realize your attendance is going up and you want to sell them at a slightly higher price, go for it. I get that. That's kind of a variable thing that you can control. But I realistically, at the end of all this, I realistically feel like the NFL is a lot smarter coming out, not appealing it for one,
Yeah.
because like I said, it's been going on. We've known about it since 2011.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really start pushing it till about 2015.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it didn't stop until 2 years ago,
Yeah.
like you should just take your lumps, take the black eye that it's going to give you,
Yep.
pay out the little, BS money that you got to pay, instead of having to pay out triple that, to where realistically, this has sent a shockwave through the entire NFL if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the owners have to split that money and pay that 450 million a piece, like they're talking about, then that could potentially mess with salary caps.
Yes.
That could mess with ticket prices.
Yep.
That messes with the whole power dynamic of the NFL.
Yeah, but at the same time, it goes back to, if what goes around comes around. You want it to be greedy and selfish and everything like that, and the consequences of your greed is coming back to get you, to where it's like, take, you know it's like that the Rome, for the example, the Roman Empire. It was a big deal. It was a huge thing, the ultimate power dynamic or whatever.
Yes.
But it crumbled fairly quickly. Why? Because of greed. They got too comfortable. They got too freaking complacent with being on top, that they weren't prepared for the pushback that they were going to get later on down the line, because they thought nothing was going to happen to them. And it's the same with this situation with the NFL. They thought, oh, well, I'm the one and only. I'm the alpha and the omega in a sense. Nobody can touch me. And here it is, 10 years down the line, and all this other stuff, and it's finally coming back to bite them in the butt to where it's like, hey, you just got to take your lumps. Like you were the big bad bully. You finally ran into that one kid that wasn't going to take your crap, and you're about to get this black eye, like you said. Like,
I get it. I get it, but even to that degree, like you brought up the Roman Empire thing, to a degree, I feel like you can't even make that reference.
how so?
Because with the Roman Empire, yes, they spread across the land the way they did, and they pushed their limits. The NFL is strictly in America, dog. Like we're talking geographics here. There's no other sport, realistically, or even these minor leagues that are coming up, because we talked about this before. Realistically, they don't have enough traction to put the NFL out of business. There's no way you're going to tell me that the NFL is going to collapse the same way the Roman Empire did.
They can because
It's possible.
I mean,
Don't get me wrong.
they can't because here's my thing. I'm not saying that there's going to be an organization that comes out of nowhere and becomes the big dog and collapses the NFL. I'm saying that with this situation right now
Okay.
that's going on with this lawsuit or whatever, this is the first of many things that the NFL thought that they were going to get away with. That's coming back to bite them in the butt. The NFL is going to be their own downfall, is what I'm saying. Because, like you said, if they do lose this appeal and do end up tripling their cost or whatever, it's going to hurt a lot of teams because there's already teams like literally all but freaking holding on for dear life to the little bit of cap space that they have, let alone having to like if you tell the owners let alone if you tell the owners that, oh, hey, by the way, you guys got to pay out of pocket for this. They're going to want to get their money back. And who are they going to take that money from? Their team. So where it's like, how can you have a team if you don't have the money to have a team? It's kind of it's ultimately the NFL with this situation is going to kind of end up being no different than Antonio Brown with that arena football league that he owned, to where he single-handedly collapsed that team to where that team went from being the top of the food chain in that arena league to literally being banned and kicked out of the league. And I feel like that's what the NFL is doing to themselves with this situation because now it's not going to only be a black eye, but now you're betraying the trust of your loyal fans. The people that sat there and believed in you and was like, you know what, yes, provide me with my entertainment and everything, and you just crushed it. Like to where it's like, no, there's not going to be an organization that does it, but who can collapse the NFL is the fans. Because without fans, they don't have money, and without money, they don't have an organization.
True. I'll give you that. And it's like I feel like with that happening though, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna see an entire shift in a power dynamic because if guys get cut, and they do cut people's salaries and whatnot, it's like you're really gonna see a lot of these top tier guys, they're either gonna stay or they're just gonna hang it up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because we've seen changes. Don't get me wrong, we definitely have, but I feel like the NFL is just screwed either way you go.
Oh yeah, because even if they do win this appeal and everything like that, uh, uh, even if they do win this appeal and everything like that, and they do come out scot free in a sense, they're not exactly going to come out scot free because, like I said, those individuals that are going through this lawsuit and everything like that, they now have a bad taste in their mouth with the NFL to where that's fans that you're going to end up losing, which is revenue that you're ultimately going to end up losing and everything like that. But I mean, right now this is still kind of fresh, and we'll obviously keep you guys updated on how this plays out and what goes on. But that's all we've got for you. We're gonna see you on the next episode. Peace out.
Peace.